admission board, I get to see about 50 to 60 applications from abroad for admission to our master program every year. Of those applications, we approve about half. The actual number of applicants that manages to get to Nijmegen is perhaps 1/3 of that half. For many of those foreign master students, it generally takes a while before they have found their way across campus. That is through the administrative web of course registration, Blackboard, university library, and so on. Not for Jean. On the morning of our first meeting of the course specialization seminar, you entered the classroom as if you had been doing this for several years. You had perfectly managed to find your way without any help or advice, and were neatly enrolled, registered, and already immersing yourself in the local Indonesian network that exists here in Nijmegen. It is this independent way of working that has characterized your approach throughout the master. You have shown yourself to be an extraordinarily hardworking, disciplined student with a tremendous energy and stamina. One of your key informants in the field called you after a popular Javanese song, A Dry Leaf in the Wind. And now excuse my pronunciation, Godong Garing Gatut Angin. This informant was referring to your tirelessness traveling through the Netherlands during your fieldwork. Indeed, you have explored many of the known and unknown railroads that run through our tiny country. And in the spirit of the anthropological notion of multi-sited fieldwork, formed the connections between people and hubs of Suriname Javanese culture that exists in the Netherlands. All this traveling was done in the context of your field research on the Suriname Javanese diaspora that lives in the Netherlands. You have studied how people, part of this diaspora, define and represent themselves as Javanese, and how this identification as Javanese leads them to nurture their Javanese cultural heritage in their daily lives through all kinds of rituals, attending festivities and going to meetings. The ancestors, the Simba, of many members of this diaspora had left Java more than 100 years ago, first traveling as laborers to another Dutch colony, Suriname, and then the later generations traveled to the Netherlands after the independence of Suriname in the 1970s. In a way, you were practicing a form of anthropology at home by looking at Javanese culture. Indeed, in many ways, you and your personal heritage were implicated in the study. Not only was an overwhelming group of possible informants keen on meeting and talking with you, sometimes creating somewhat uneasy situations in which you were treated and spoken to, befitting your social status in Java, but going against the generational gap between you and your often much older informants. You also helped re-establishing a connection between family members who had lost touch during the first migration wave a century ago. This memorable and emotional event even made it to the national CNN news of Indonesia. And although in your thesis you say it's due to the power of Facebook, I think it was also credit to your approach. In the course of a few months, you have been able to build a large social network of people who invited you into their homes and shared their personal life histories. The fact that all of your informants gave permission to have their real names mentioned and pictures included in the thesis, including their personal Facebook pictures, signifies something of the trust they have put in you. And I think they were right. In the representation of your informants in your thesis, you have shown the important, if not the most essential capacity of an anthropologist, which is to empathize and respect their perspectives, and not just treat them as sources of useful information, but as humans in whose lives you were so kindly welcomed. The thesis itself, entitled Tansa Eling Simba, Never Forget My Roots, a study of Suriname Javanese diaspora people in maintaining Javanese cultural heritage in the Netherlands, bursts with data that cannot always be matched with an equally strong analysis. You just want to say too much in too little space. Nevertheless, the thesis invites for further research, and you are currently in the process of applying for a PhD position funded through the Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education. I sincerely hope that you will be able to procure a place at our department to continue your research as well as your growth as an anthropologist. It was a real pleasure to be your supervisor. For now, I want to congratulate you with obtaining the master's degree, and I wish you all the best for the future.